The outpost on the edge of the neutral zone was quiet most days. Callan, a young human engineer, liked it that way. He worked in the repair bay, fixing broken machines and drinking bad coffee. It was a simple life, and he didn't complain. But that morning, everything changed. A deep alarm rang across the base. Callan wiped oil from his hands and looked up. Something serious was happening. Soldiers ran toward the landing pads. From the sky, a large black ship appeared, shaped like a claw. The flags on it showed a red beast symbol, Catherine Empire. The Catherines were feared across the galaxy. Tall, strong, and warlike, they didn't visit human bases often. When they did, something important was going on. "Stay inside," one officer told Callan. "This isn't for engineers." But curiosity pulled him outside anyway. The Catherine ship landed with a loud hiss. The ramp opened. Soldiers in dark armor marched out. And then she appeared. General Dravessa, warlord of the Eastern Catherine tribes. She was massive, at least 7 feet tall, with wild dark hair, sharp yellow eyes, and muscular arms. Her presence alone made the soldiers around her step back. Her armor was dark silver, covered in scars from battle. In her hand, she carried a giant curved blade, nearly as long as Callan's whole body. She didn't speak at first. She looked around slowly, then stepped forward onto the platform. "I seek the one called Callan," she said, her voice deep and firm. Callan blinked. "Me?" Heads turned. Everyone looked at him. His heart jumped. She walked right up to him and stopped. Her shadow covered him. Then, without warning, she pulled the blade from her back and tossed it to the ground at his feet. "If you can hold it," she said, "you are mine." Gasps filled the air. What does that mean?" Callan asked, confused. "Pick it up," she said. A nearby alien whispered, "It's a bonding ritual. A Catherine Warlord's blade is only given to a chosen mate." Callan froze. "Wait, what? I'm not part of this." But everyone was watching. Some laughed. Some looked nervous. The blade sat there heavy and silent, like it was waiting. Callan looked at the warlord. Her golden eyes never blinked. He could feel her strength, but also her challenge. He sighed and reached down. It was just a sword. He had lifted heavier things before. His fingers touched the hilt. To everyone's shock, including Dravessa's, the blade lifted. It wasn't light, but it wasn't impossible either. Callan stood up, holding it with both hands. Silence. Dravessa stepped forward and took the blade gently from his hands. She looked at him, surprised but calm. "It is done," she said. "You have claimed the blade, and now you have claimed me." Callan's mouth dropped open. "Wait, what? I didn't mean—" "It is our way," she said. The human commander rushed forward. "General, surely this is a misunderstanding." "It is our law," she replied coldly. "I do not break it." She turned to Callan. "You will come with me. We are now bonded." "No, I fix machines. I'm not a warrior," Callan said, waving his hands. She didn't smile, but her eyes narrowed. "Then you will learn. The bond is made, and we do not break what is forged in challenge." 2 Catherine guards stepped forward. Callan looked at his fellow humans, hoping someone would stop this, but no one dared. "Can't we talk about this?" he asked nervously. "You will speak on my ship," Dravessa said. "And there you will learn who I am, and what it means to hold a Catherine warblade." Callan's heart pounded. He had only wanted a quiet life, fixing generators, cleaning, filters. Now he was being taken by a Beastwoman Warlord across the stars? The crowd parted as he followed her up the ramp. Her ship rumbled, the doors closed behind him, and just like that, Callan's quiet life was over. The inside of Dravessa's ship was dark and cold. The walls were made of thick metal, and strange lights blinked along the ceilings. Callan sat in a round chamber, strapped into a seat as the ship lifted off. The hum of engines surrounded him. He had never felt more out of place. Across from him stood Dravessa. She didn't say a word at first. Her arms were crossed and her sharp yellow eyes watched him closely. He could feel the weight of her gaze. Finally, she spoke. "You held the blade. You cannot take that back," Callan sighed. "I didn't know what it meant. I just picked it up. In my culture, that is a promise, a challenge, a claim. And now, you are bound to me." He frowned. "But I'm just an engineer. I fix broken tools. I don't even know how to use a weapon." Dravessa stepped closer. "The blade chose you. Or perhaps fate did. Either way, the bond has been made. Breaking it would shame my name." Callan sat quietly. His heart still raced. He had no plan, no escape. What does this bond actually mean? Dravessa tilted her head. "Among my people, when a warlord tosses her blade and a mate lifts it, it becomes a sacred union. Not just of strength, but of spirit. But we don't even know each other." She looked at him, then nodded. "That is true. So now we learn." The ship soon landed on a Catharan station orbiting a blue gas giant. The hangar opened, revealing crowds of alien soldiers waiting for their leader. When Dravessa stepped out, the soldiers pounded their fists over their chests in salute. Callan followed nervously behind her. Whispers started the moment they saw him. "That's the human. He lifted her blade. He looks so soft." Dravessa raised her voice. "This human, Callan, held the warblade and lives. Let none question the bond. He is mine by law and fire." The soldiers fell silent. Callan leaned closer to her. "Do I get a say in any of this?" She didn't answer, but there was the tiniest twitch in the corner of her mouth, almost like a smile. Later, Callan was shown to his quarters. Simple, but clean. A small bed, a table, and a view of the stars. A food tray was left for him with something that looked like dried meat and green paste. Dravessa visited him there. "You will train tomorrow," she said. "Train for what?" "To stand beside me. If you are to be my mate, you must prove you are not weak. My enemies will test you." "I don't even know how to punch properly," Callan said. "Then you will learn. Strength is not only in the arm, it is also in the mind." He looked at her, unsure what she really thought of him. "Do you even want this bond? Or are you just following your rules?" Dravessa looked out the window at the stars. "When I tossed my blade, I believed no one would lift it. Not even you. It was a symbol. A test. A test of what? Of my people. Of fate. I believed the age of strong warriors was gone. I thought no one was worthy. And now? You lifted it with no fear, with no knowledge. You faced a challenge with open hands. That makes me curious." Callan smiled faintly. "So, I'm not your type, but I passed your test anyway?" She turned to him. "You are different. That may not be a weakness." They sat in silence for a moment. Two people from different worlds, a Beastwoman Warlord and a human engineer, tied together by tradition and accident. Callan finally asked, "Is there a way to end the bond? Peacefully?" Dravessa nodded. "There is a path, but it must be earned. If after the trial of the flame you choose to walk away, you may go, without shame." "What's the trial of the flame?" "A ritual to test your heart, your mind, and your will. We both must complete it. Together." He stared at her. "And if we pass it?" "Then the bond is sealed forever." Callan stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars, feeling small in this wide galaxy, but a spark of courage began to grow in his chest. "I don't know if I'm ready for forever," he said softly. Dravessa replied, "Then be ready for tomorrow. That is enough." And with that, she left him alone in the room, the stars still watching, the bond still unbroken. The next day, Callan stood in the center of a stone arena deep inside the Catharan war station. He wore light armor and held a small training staff in both hands. His heart pounded in his chest. Around him, tall Catharan warriors stood watching from the high seats. Their faces showed no emotion. Across from him stood Dravessa, taller and stronger as always, her war blade strapped to her back. "The trial of the flame begins now," she said. "This is the first stage. Strength." Callan swallowed hard. "You sure there's no warm-up?" She didn't answer. Instead, a loud horn blew and a large metal door opened at the edge of the arena. From the shadows, a creature stepped out. It looked like a four-legged beast covered in scales with sharp claws and glowing red eyes. It was not too big, but it moved fast, like a predator ready to strike. "Wait, what is that?" Callan shouted, taking a step back. "A Gorthan. It's part of the trial," Dravessa said calmly. "Don't let it reach your chest." Callan raised his staff just as the creature charged. He jumped to the side, barely avoiding its claw. The crowd let out low growls of approval. Callan ran, looking for cover, but the arena was flat. No shields, no walls, just open space. The creature lunged again. This time Callan swung the staff and smacked it on the side. It let out a sharp hiss but kept coming. "Think, Callan, think," he muttered to himself. "It's just a test. You've fixed tougher machines than this." He watched how it moved, fast in a straight line but slow to turn. So Callan stopped, running, and stood still. As the beast came straight for him again, Callan rolled to the left, grabbed a chunk of broken rock and threw it toward the far wall. The beast turned toward the noise. That's when Callan hit it behind the head with the full force of his staff. The creature dropped and didn't get back up. The crowd let out a chorus of strong approval. Even Dravessa raised her chin slightly. "Well done," she said. "You used your mind. That is good. Many only use their fists." Callan breathed hard, sweat on his forehead. "Please tell me that was the hardest part." "It was only the first," she said. "Now comes the second stage, endurance," he groaned. Later, Callan found himself deep in a cave. Lava pools bubbled around him, giving off intense heat. His task, carry a burning torch across the path without dropping it or falling. The stones were hot. His armor felt like an oven. But Callan pushed forward step by step. Behind him, Dravessa walked in silence. She didn't help, but she didn't stop him either. Halfway across, Callan slipped. The torch wobbled in his hand. His boot nearly touched lava. He froze, arms shaking. "You may drop the torch," Dravessa said from behind. No shame in it. But Callan gritted his teeth. "No, I've come this far. I can finish." He adjusted his grip, stood tall, and kept walking. When he reached the end, he placed the torch in a metal holder. The flame stayed alive. Dravessa stared at him for a moment. "You do not give up easily." Callan looked at her. "Not when I feel something is worth it." That night, they rested in a Catherine tent under the stars. Callan sat by a small fire, sipping warm broth. Dravessa sat across from him, sharpening her blade. "Why did you agree to go through the trial too?" Callan asked. "I thought I was the one being tested." "I must also prove my choice," she replied. "In our ways, both the bondmate and the warlord must walk the flames." "So you're risking something too?" She looked at the fire. "Yes. If I fail, I lose honor. I lose leadership. And I lose you." He nodded slowly. "Then I'm glad you're walking with me." She raised her eyes. "I did not expect you to come this far, human." Callan smiled. "I didn't either." The next trial was of spirit. They were placed in a chamber filled with illusions. Visions of fear, regret, and pain appeared before them. Dravessa faced memories of her fallen soldiers. Callan saw his childhood, fears, his father's cold voice, the feeling of being small and helpless. In the final vision, they stood back to back, surrounded by shadows. Dravessa spoke first. "You are not a warrior." "No," Callan said, gripping her hand. "But I'm not afraid anymore." And with that, the shadows broke. The chamber faded. The trial was complete. As they stepped outside, the sun rising over the Catharan cliffs, Dravessa turned to him. "You have passed all 3 trials. You may walk away now." With no shame. Callan looked at her. "Do you want me to leave?" Her golden eyes met his. I do not wish to command you, but I would not stop you. He stepped closer. Then maybe I won't leave, not yet. They stood in silence, a bond growing stronger, not by force but by choice. After the trial of the flame, Callan and Dravessa returned to the Catherine station. News of the trial spread quickly. Whispers echoed through the halls. The humans survived the sacred test, and many found it hard to believe. Callan sat in a small room overlooking the stars, his thoughts tangled like a storm. The quiet hum of the station did little to calm him. He was no longer just a human engineer. He was bonded to a powerful alien warlord, and that bond carried weight. A soft knock came at the door. Dravessa entered, her usual strong posture softened by a hint of fatigue. We must talk, she said. Callan nodded. I'm ready. She closed the door behind her and sat opposite him. The council is not pleased. Some see you as a threat, others as a tool. Callan frowned. What do they want? They want you to return to your people, to end this bond before it causes war. Callan looked down at his hands. But what about you? What do you want? Dravessa hesitated. My people expect me to lead them into battle soon. There are enemies at our borders. A war may come. Callan's heart sank. And if war comes, what will happen to us? She looked out the window, voice low. I cannot abandon my people, but I do not want to lose you. He leaned forward. Then what do we do? Dravessa's eyes met his. You must choose your path. You can return to your life among humans, or stand with me and face the future, together. Callan's mind raced. He missed his simple days, his quiet life fixing machines. But he also felt something new, a connection he never expected. I don't know if I can live in your world, he said honestly. And I don't know if I can live without you, she replied. Before he could answer, the door slid open. A human officer stepped in. Callan, the council demands your immediate return, he said. They fear this union could spark conflict. Callan looked at Dravessa, searching her face. She gave a small nod. I will speak to the council, she said, but you must decide quickly. That night, Callan walked alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. The vastness of space stretched before him, silent, cold, and endless. He thought about his family, his friends, his quiet home. He thought about Dravessa, the fierce warlord who tossed her blade at him, the woman who had trusted him through fire and shadow. His phone beeped. A message from his sister. Come home soon. We miss you. He closed his eyes. Could he go back to that life? Could he forget what he had learned here? The answer felt impossible. The next day, Dravessa brought him to the council chamber. Alien. Leaders sat in high chairs watching him closely. Some nodded respectfully, others sneered. One elder spoke. Human, this bond is dangerous. It threatens peace. Callan stood tall. I didn't choose this bond lightly, but I stand by Dravessa. Together we can find peace. Murmurs filled the room. Dravessa stepped forward. This bond is not a weakness. It is a new way. Our worlds can unite, not fight. The council debated long into the day. At last, the leader spoke. You have our warning. End this bond, or face consequences. Callan and Dravessa exchanged a look, silent understanding passing between them. Outside, a message arrived. Enemy fleets moving closer to the Catharan border. The war was real. Callan turned to Dravessa. I choose to stand with you, her eyes shone with fierce pride. Then we fight as one. Together they prepared for the battle ahead, not just for survival, but for the chance to change their worlds forever. The vast stars stretched endlessly outside the warship's viewports as Callan stood beside General Dravessa on the command deck. The hum of the engines was steady, but tension filled the air. The Catharan fleet was ready to face the invading enemy forces. This battle would decide the fate of their worlds. Callan looked at Dravessa, her golden eyes sharp and focused. She wore her dark armor with pride, her warblade resting at her side. He felt the weight of their bond, once unexpected and strange, now strong and real. "Are you ready?" she asked quietly. Callan nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Their mission was clear. The enemy fleet had superior numbers and firepower, but they relied heavily on advanced communication technology. If that could be disabled, the enemy might lose coordination and retreat. Callan was not a soldier, but his human knowledge of technology was invaluable. He had spent hours studying the enemy's communication patterns and weapons. The moment the battle began, lasers and plasma beams lit the darkness of space. Ships moved like deadly dancers, weaving and dodging. Explosions flared across the void. Callan stood at the communication console, fingers flying over controls as he sent hacking signals into the enemy's network. The enemy's ships suddenly lost contact with each other. Confusion spread like wildfire. Dravessa commanded her fleet with fierce precision. Her voice was calm but strong over the comms. "Press the attack. Now is our chance." Ships surged forward, striking hard. Enemy vessels began to retreat, their movements uncoordinated. Callan's heart pounded with each success. The bond he shared with Dravessa gave him strength. He was no longer just a human far from home. He was part of something greater. Suddenly, alarms blared. An enemy cruiser broke through the defense lines and targeted their ship. "Shields at 40%, the officer shouted. Dravessa grabbed her warblade. "Prepare to defend the ship. I will lead the boarding party." Callan hesitated. "I'm not a fighter." Dravessa's eyes softened for a moment. "You have fought today in your own way. Now trust me." The boarding battle was brutal. Dravessa moved with power and skill, cutting through enemies. Callan followed behind, using his engineering skills to sabotage the enemy's systems. At one point, a group of alien soldiers cornered him. Heart racing, Callan used quick thinking and a small tool to disable their weapons. They were stunned and quickly captured. After the fight, Dravessa pulled him close. "You did well." Callan smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. "Only because you were there." When the battle ended, the enemy forces surrendered. The Catherine fleet had won against all odds. Back on the command deck, the leaders gathered. Dravessa turned to Callan. "You have proven yourself, not just to me, but to all our people." Callan looked around. The Catherine soldiers who once doubted him now nodded with respect. Dravessa took his hand. "This bond is no longer just tradition. It is a new path, one where our worlds can be united." Callan felt hope rise inside him. For the first time, he believed that humans and Catherines could live together in peace. Later, during a ceremony, Dravessa publicly declared Callan as her mate and equal partner. The crowd cheered, the old ways giving way to a new future. Callan stood beside her, proud and ready. Together they would face whatever challenges the galaxy held.